if you get a hair transplant and you don't take medication, you will, like 100,000%, you will continue to go bald. I've had a hair transplant, I've gone to Turkey, and I've still got a receded hairline. 5 months ago, I flew to Turkey and I got a hair transplant at the ripe old age of 27 years old. Did I get it too young? Did I make some awful mistake and screw it up? Do I regret anything? What do I wish I knew before getting it done? And if you are thinking about getting it done, what are the things that you need to do before? Was it painful? Right, so the actual procedure itself, as I was getting it done, was not painful at all, but there's this bit at the start where they have to numb your head. So everything's done, you're completely awake, you're completely conscious, and they have to numb your entire head before you get it done. The way they numb your head is by giving you about 99,000 million injections into your spinal cord and your brain with like a 17-inch long needle. That's what it feels like. That's actually not what they're doing. You get about, I think it's about like 30 injections maybe, with a needle like maybe this big, and they have to do every single area of your scalp to make sure everything is numb. That was incredibly painful, bro. I've had a lot of medical procedures. I've had like tubes shoved up my dick with cameras on. I've had my knee joint drained. I would probably say that is up there with the top 5 painful. It's not comparable to having your like knee lining cut out, which is probably the worst thing I've ever experienced in my entire life, but it's more like a sharp, like, fuck pain. I don't want to be misleading, but I have to say that it depends on the clinic that you go to. So I've had the hair transplant basically done on 2 separate days. The first day, a good clinic will give you pain medication before they give you the injections in your head. So the first day, when I got my hair transplant done, they gave me fentanyl, and I literally did not feel anything at all. Like, it was chill, I felt pretty good, it was fine, the pain was like 2 out of 10. The second day, I decided not to have the painkillers from the anaesthetist and just have the injections, and that's when I experienced the pain. So like the cheaper, money-saving clinics will not give you any painkillers before the injections, the more premium ones will. So yeah, that was pretty damn painful. I'll give that a solid 8 out of 10. But the actual procedure, you don't really feel anything. It's more of a discomfort. Why is it falling out? Okay, so this is something that you may or may not be aware of. When you get it done, it's going to look a million times worse before it looks better. So you're going to get your head shaved. You don't have to get your head shaved. The results are better if you get your head shaved. You're going to get your head shaved, and then you're going to get the transplant. They put these new hairs in, the follicles, like the little hairs, and then they start to grow. And it looks like really good. You're like, sick, I've got this sick hairline. Well, bro, you get something called shockloss. This didn't happen to me until about 2 months in. So what happens is the hair will start to grow in place. It'll look really, really good. You'll be like, sick, my hair's coming through. And then it'll just all start to fall out. Like literally every hair that you've had in, like 80% of the hairs are just gone, and you're like, bro, I'm looking absolutely clapped. What's going on? Has it failed? You've got like bald patches where the hairs are meant to be, but trust the process, boys. Like, this is the stage where the hair falls out because it's been moved, it's in shock, it like the follicle ejects it just falls out, and then you got to wait for new hair to grow through, and then it'll be looking absolutely fantastic. For about 2 months after the procedure, I had like these bald patches. I was like, oh shit, this is not looking good. But then at like the 3-month mark, it just seems to like explode through out of nowhere and look really, really good. It does all fall out. For me and for my friends as well that have also had a hair transplant, it's about 8 weeks. The clinics say 2 weeks, or a lot of them it's longer than that, bro. It's like 8 weeks. So I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be fine. It's not gonna happen to me. It will happen to you. It's just taking its time. And then you look on the pillow and there's like hairs everywhere, and you're like, fuck. How long before I could work out and train again? So this is another thing that I feel like a lot of this like cosmetic medication stuff, right? A lot of the basis for the claims that people and doctors make, I'm not saying I know more than a doctor, I might know more than certain doctors because a lot of doctors don't know a lot of stuff, but a lot of the claims that the clinics make are like, it seems like they just pull them out their ass. So like, I've heard people saying they can't train for 6 months. I've heard people saying they can't train for 6 weeks, for 1 month, for 2 weeks. And it's like, how long can you not train for, and how long can you not do stuff for? So what I did was I was told that I could not train for 1 month after my hair transplant. I was like, you know what? There's absolutely zero way that is happening. So I went online and looked on Google Scholar, and the science says that the grafts that you get changed are fully set into your hair after about 9 days. So what I did was I waited 2 weeks before I trained. I went back to the gym after 12 days. Then I started training properly, like hard, and doing legs and other things where there might be a bit more pressure in my head where you might pop out a graft at 2 weeks. The research suggested 9 days was fine. After 9 days, I got a group of people, looked at the grafts, gave them a little tug. After 9 days, although the hairs would come out, the actual follicles and grafts wouldn't come out, like in all the people that they looked at. Add a couple of days on that to be safe, and then I started training after about 2 weeks. When can you wear a hat? So if you're thinking about wearing a hat, bro, don't be a bitch. Like, rock the bald hair, get over yourself, get over your insecurities. I know it's kind of ironic considering a hair transplant to fix this thing I was insecure about, but I also did not wear a hat through the duration of this for that very reason, because I wanted to use, that's why I went bald as well. Like, I wanted to use it as an excuse to kind of get over that insecurity, and also realize that if I did one day go bald, it isn't actually that bad. So I think you can wear a hat after 2 weeks. The only reasons I would wear it is to stay out the sun, and then the other reason is if you don't want to get cold either. So obviously you can put a beanie on if you got a bald head, but just don't do it based on insecurity. That's what I'm trying to say. Do you need to take medication for a hair transplant? This literally makes me, so many people are going to be, this triggers me. And this is the problem with YouTube and listening to people like myself and taking their advice. So there are so many people online that get a hair transplant, they document it, they have people following them like gospel, and they don't take any medication after transplant. They're like, oh, you don't need to take anything. The new hairs aren't going to fall out. Like fucking idiots. You need to take something for DHT. DHT is the root cause of male pattern baldness. That is the thing that is causing your hair to effectively fall out. That is the reason that you're going bald. If you get a hair transplant and you don't take medication for the DHT that directly addresses it, you will, like 100,000%, you will continue to go bald. But the only thing that's going to happen is you're going to have a nice little line of hair where they've done the transplant. That's not going to change, but all of this hair is going to go bald. So you're going to get, there's going to be like this epidemic of people that are going to Turkey, they're getting a hair transplant, don't really know what they're doing, and then they're having this like sick hairline, they have it for a few years, it's looking really, really good, and then all of a sudden, as they get older, they're just going to lose all this hair. They're going to go back to get a transplant done, and then, because you've only got so much hair in the back that you can take hairs from, you've got about 6,000 grafts on average that you can take. I've had about 3,000 already, so I've already used half of my donor supply. They're not going to have any hair left to move to here. So they're going to be looking fucking absolutely clapped. A clinic is not going to say to you, oh, make sure you've been on finasteride for 1 year before giving us all of your thousands of dollars that you're going to use to get this hair transplant. They're not even going to fucking mention it, bro, in 99.9% of cases, but you need to be on something before to stabilize it. So the reason for that is because if I start taking finasteride now after my hair transplant, it's going to take a while to work. The hair loss isn't going to be stabilized. So you will continue to lose hair after the transplant if you're not on something like finasteride or a DHT blocker or something that's going to address the root cause of the issue. Finasteride is what deals with the root cause of the problem, which is DHT. DHT is a type of testosterone that's converted from regular testosterone into dihydrotestosterone, and that DHT then binds to the receptors on your hair follicles, and it basically like strangles them, or it starves the blood supply over time. And then if you don't do anything about it, once the follicle is dead, you're doomed. Like, you've kind of lost it, and there's nothing else that you can do. The moment you notice your hair is thinning, they say you've already lost 50% of your hair density, which is literally insane. The moment you notice it, bro, you need to be taking some kind of drug therapy, something that helps with the DHT and something that helps with the hair growth as well. So I take 1 milligram or 1 pill of finasteride every single day. I will have to do that for the rest of my life. I was previously taking 0.5 because I was worried about side effects, although like the studies and the side effects, it's less than 1% chance of getting them. Obviously, I've heard a lot of things like being like, oh no, finasteride's going to stop your dick from working, you're going to grow tits, this is going to happen, you're going to become a trans man. I was very concerned about it. I spoke to Mike Thurston actually, and I was like, I want to take, it was an IB for like 2 or 3 years ago. I was like, I know that I need to take finasteride, but I'm worried about taking it because of the side effects. And he was like, look, I take it, I've had absolutely zero side effects. The majority of people that get side effects or think they have side effects are so convinced that they're going to get side effects when they take it. The placebo effect makes them get side effects. So I was like, you know what? Yeah, let's just send it. Let's just do it. And I was still a little bit concerned. So what I did was I started using this all-in-one spray from Manual, which is basically everything that you need to take in one single spray. I actually used this before I was sponsored with them, I think. Like, I did a video of them 2 years ago, and then I've kept using this continuously. So if you're someone that's worried about side effects from taking a pill, and for me it was like psychologically taking a pill, I'm like, okay, it's gonna go throughout my whole body, I don't necessarily want to take that at first. I use that all-in-one spray, put it directly onto my scalp, and then you don't need to take a pill or anything like that. You do it once a day. It's really, really good. Used this stuff for about 1.5 years, got no side effects at all from it. Then I went to oral finasteride because it's just easier to take. I was like, I felt comfortable enough that nothing was going to happen. Short answer from that extremely long question is yes, you do need to take stuff for the rest of your life for hair, before and after. If you do want to grab anything from Manual, you can get 55% off with this code here on your first order, and there's also a link down below as well. There's a lot of crap out there, like all these things that companies are trying to sell you, and the only things you really need are minoxidil, finasteride, microneedling, like together minoxidil and microneedling are a really, really good one. And then maybe a Nizoral shampoo as well. This is a controversial one. Why didn't you bring the corners forward more? I've had a hair transplant, I've gone to Turkey, and I've still got a receded hairline. Like, not gonna lie, I would prefer this to like be more like this. And part of me thinks like, okay, maybe I should have dropped them a little bit more in just kind of that corner temple region. But the reason that I did this, man, is because I got this really young. And it is a fact that even though I'm taking finasteride, even though I'm taking minoxidil, even though I'm doing all these things, I still might continue to lose my hair. And then I'm going to be left with this like weird bald patch behind the transplant, and it's going to look absolutely awful. And then you might be thinking, oh Mo, I'll just get another hair transplant. Yes, you can probably do that, but you're going to run out of hair eventually. You've basically got to realize there's this trade-off between longevity, like what's going to look good in 10 years when you're 30, 40, 50, and what's going to look good now. So if I got like a super squared away low hairline, that'll look great for 5 years. But in 10, 20 years, it's probably going to look absolutely awful. I'm going to have no more hair to move, and I'm going to be screwed. Because like an aging hairline, bro, at the end of the day, like everyone's getting older. You will get older. It's inevitable. Like dying is the one inevitable part of life. Like you will age. There's going to be 70-year-old men walking around with like perfectly squared up temples and shit, and then boulder areas back here. The one thing that I'm not sure about is like, should I have got that a tiny bit lower? But I'm not overly bothered because I don't know like how much of this is insecurity that is like clouding my judgment when I'm like, okay, I don't think I'm insecure, but is it like some body dysmorphia where I'm like, oh, I need this super sick squared away hairline, or have I made the right choice in terms of like longevity, getting it how I did? Let me know down below. I'm actually genuinely curious like what you think. Do I think I got it too young as well? Ideally, I probably would have waited until I was 30. Like the longer you wait, the more stable your hair loss is going to be, the better the results are going to be long term. But there's also like, if you're not happy and you want it done now, I completely get it. So personally, I'd wait until I was in my late 20s, like the very like earliest. I wouldn't do it in my early 20s, like mid to late 20s earliest. If I did get it done at this age, which I did, I was very careful with what they did to the hairline. So I didn't want it dropped. So you've got to realize there are limitations to what you can do. There is no cure for hair loss. You can make it better, you can slow it down, you can kind of reduce it, but you're more than likely always going to have problems with it. And like, if you think you can go to Turkey, get it dropped, it looks sick, bro. You see all these like before and after photos of people getting hair transplants, and it looks like incredible. It's like this low, squared away, sick looking hairline. What's that going to look like in 10 years, 15 years? It is going to look clapped, man. But yeah, boys, that was my 4-month hair transplant Q&A, going over all the questions, the most common ones that you guys asked me. If you got any questions, drop them down below. I'll get back to as many as possible. If you guys like the hair loss content, drop it a like, drop it a comment. I will do more stuff on this as well. But yeah, 4-month hair update. Overall, pretty damn happy with it. Think it is looking great. I do not regret it. I don't think I got it too early, but because I knew that, like I considered these things from the start. I've been on finasteride for a few years. I know that I have to continue to take finasteride, medication, etc., etc. It kind of like saved me from where a lot of people are gonna go wrong. But yeah, peace out, I love to bits. Thank you. Good night. If you want to grab anything from Manual, code whatever this is will give you some money off, which is really, really good. And I've used these guys for like 2 years solid. Absolutely fantastic, sick, highly rate, recommended. Ciao.